box. Junkie juice box. Mother lover, you gon' love this. Graduated from the river from area, my area, they love this. I'm a record, I'm the engine, heaven's ascension, every dimension, give me attention. Look at myself, look at my home, look at my heart, got the world in my
12 and 0. 12 and 0. You know, it's a lot of people predicted us to go 12 and 0 at the beginning of the season, but it's one thing to be predicted to do it, and it's another thing to actually do it. Very proud of these Tigers. Second time in the last 4 years the Tigers have a undefeated regular season. You know, that is not something to be taken lightly. Yeah, the schedule was a little lighter than it has been the last 3 years, but still very impressive to do. We still played some tough teams. We didn't play any elite teams, but nobody did this year. Nobody played a brutal schedule this year, point blank period. There's a lot of I don't know. The conferences are very top heavy this year. There's not a lot of elite teams. Not close to as many really, really good teams as there normally is. You know, it's really the top six-ish, and that's about it. And nobody else is even really that close. So Alabama didn't play a brutal schedule. Clemson didn't play a brutal schedule. You can say Notre Dame, it is what it is. Let's talk about this South Carolina game. And everybody was predicting the Clemson a blowout win. We get a pretty comfortable win, but man, just South Carolina's coaching staff, offensive coaching staff, defensive coaching staff never really had a chance because of the injuries, but I'll get to that in a minute. Offensive coaching staff, oh man, I cannot think of the offensive coordinator's name right now. I was just looking at it. I'm horrible with names. But first year, and he had South Carolina prepared for this. You could tell that they had been game planning. They got that bye last week because they still do the play a scrub before the Clemson game, while Clemson was playing a 7-win conference game. But they got an extra week to game plan for Clemson, and they did great. Venables was lost this game. The defense was lost. It was not a talent issue, and I got to give a big congrats to Jake Bentley. You know, this kid's not looked that good up until the last few weeks in his whole career. And he comes out here and he is on target, man. I'll tell you what, he's on target. The throws were so much better than what we're used to seeing with Jake Bentley. A lot more accurate throws. There were a couple where he kind of forced it into double coverage, and either Debo or one of the receivers made a crazy catch where, you know, Clemson players were in position for the interception and dove for it. A couple of touchdowns, or a touchdown, one of the big plays. Muse, and I forgot who the other guy was, who we had out there, that both kind of dove for the ball and completely whiffed, giving up huge gains to South Carolina, so that was stupid. Just make the play there. And the biggest thing for Clemson's defense, like I said, it's not a talent issue. You can see we were not ready for the hurry up. We were not ready for this offense that South Carolina brought. And I'm really confused as to why, because we knew that South Carolina would be running hurry up. We haven't faced anybody with that same pace. And it just, the defensive calls, we need to simplify it. We've got to simplify it going forward, especially if we play Alabama in the playoffs. You know, if we try to sit here and call all these different plays like we're doing right now and not get set, almost all of South Carolina's big plays were because Clemson was not set. And the players didn't know the play. You know, South Carolina receivers were wide open because the play didn't get in. So had we been prepared for this, had we simplified the calls, I don't think you would have seen close to as much success by South Carolina's offense. But the fact of the matter is, it happened. You know, they were out-coached. Simplifying this, I think, will help a ton. And Venables, every time this is happening, we saw it with Pittsburgh in 2016 with the shovel pass debacle. Every team tried that after that and got absolutely crushed. And we're probably going to see some teams try this hurry up. I'm sure we'll see. I don't know if we'll see it from Pitt, but we'll see if we see it in the playoff against, you know, it could be anybody from Alabama to hopefully not Alabama. I'd rather play them in championship. But, you know, we could be facing anybody, Alabama, Notre Dame, Oklahoma, Ohio State. I don't know yet. But we've got to get the secondary fixed up big time. We've got to get these calls simplified. You know, Clemson did a decent job in the third quarter after second half adjustments, but it wasn't great. We didn't allow a third quarter touchdown by South Carolina, but they did drive. They just weren't strong enough to run the ball. They weren't strong enough to convert down near the goal line most of the time. Passing was all they had with the hurry-up offense, which is all they really needed because it worked. But I think that it is a pretty simple fix for Clemson. You just cannot be sitting here with a hurry-up offense that's moving and snapping the ball within 10 seconds of the play unless you can't be trying to get a complicated call in there. When Clemson had the call well and they weren't moving at the line of scrimmage and they actually had the call, they did a decent job covering South Carolina. We've got to fix this. It was absolutely frustrating to see. Yes, South Carolina did get a couple of those last touchdowns were trash time. Our second string, a lot of second string, third string players were in for Clemson. So South Carolina did make it look better than it was. Had they had a strong running game or any sort of strength whatsoever, they could have kept it closer in those goal line stands. But Clemson has had goal line stands for years. We've dominated at the goal line for years, and that's not going to change with a much smaller South Carolina offense. But South Carolina had chances. It could have been a closer game. So that's something that they had no business being in this game. It was just a beautiful offensive play calling. So let's get ready for Pitt. We have got a little bit of revenge coming Pitt's way. It was the Coastal Division, absolutely atrocious this year. Absolutely atrocious. Embarrassing to even call them, football, a football league. They need to be, FCS level, MAC level, something like that. Atrocious to have 4, 7, and 5 teams. But Pittsburgh, hopefully 0 points. Hopefully 0 points this week. I want a dominant defensive effort. I want to see Pitt try to do the same thing South Carolina did, and see if we've simplified it. See what happens there. Once we beat Pittsburgh, we'll officially have bragging rights against everybody in the ACC, and we can get ready for the real season, the postseason, the playoffs. Teams like Clemson and Alabama, and really just Clemson and Alabama, this is what we live for. This is what we thrive for now in the playoff era. So let's get it done. Let's fix these problems. Great season. Go Tigers.